Welcome to This Side Up. Park Fissler here. Is it really me? Pete Smith, you're there. You've been away a while, Pete, so people just might want to sort of, reacclimate to your, what have you been up to with all this time off?
Coaching. I like literally all these people think football's off. I'm never off from the sport. So this is all I do. So all these people are like jonesing for football. I'm already way ahead of you, several weeks.
Well, you didn't tell me you were coaching, so I guess maybe it's a private coaching session of some UFL team or something. I don't know.
If they got money.
If they, ladies and gentlemen, that's the Pete Smith that we know and love. Now back here on This Side Up. Pete, this is sort of a batten down the hatches moment here. It's in lockdown. Rookie camp has started, or this rookie session camp has started. The Browns are out there. There's no sort of pressing news on this at the moment. I'm wondering, just from a 10,000 foot kind of thing, what you are hoping for out of this. Yes, I know the guys are going to get acclimated. It's about lexicon. It's about schemes. It's about finding the proper place all over the field. We have an impressive rookie class. What are you looking for out of this, if you could even get a whisper of it?
Well, I mean, obviously everybody's going to talk about what's going to happen in Pats, but coming off of the break, I'm hoping that it doesn't take very long for guys to click. They've had all this time to sort of really learn the offense. Hopefully they have mastered the offense to the point where maybe there's a few mistakes early on, but you want this thing to sort of hum pretty quickly in terms of guys are going to the right places. We're not talking about mental mistakes or bad assignments or whatever that stuff. And then likewise, let's get the real defense on the field, because we did OTAs and we were missing most of the secondary for whatever reason. So hopefully everybody's back and healthy and ready to compete, and we get to see ones on ones and stuff that's going to be sort of help provide some meaning for this football team.
Forgetting about the quarterbacks, but the idea of I get a sense from Monken is just trying to get these guys ready for when the vets come in. And then it's no longer about the big pretend, as I call it. Lots of press conferences, and everybody loves the draft class. It's now about the big production. And Monken is not messing around, as we said many times. Do you think part of that is sort of a mental prep? He went in there today and said, "Welcome to working," right?
Yeah, I mean, look, Todd Monken the entire way has looked at this and coached and operated like a guy who isn't guaranteed anything beyond this year. And I think he understands this is one chance, and he's doing everything in his power to put himself and this team in the best position to make sure he gets to keep going. So I think he's fired up. I think he's been waiting for this basically his whole life in the NFL. So I don't think he's going to waste any of it.
Is there anything, since we've talked when we weren't doing the show, that has diminished your view, your view of this draft class?
No. In fact, I think, obviously, again, pads, Parker Brailsford, Spencer Fano, we haven't seen them in the pads, tight ends, to a certain extent, we haven't seen them in the pads. But the biggest thing we wanted to see, obviously, better front and everything, but was help out the running game, get these guys better. And by doing that was investing heavily in wide receiver. They've done that in a way that sort of unexpected. And to this point, those guys have impressed. So if they can keep that going, I think people can talk themselves into some potentially unrealistic expectations based on just how the individual talent at receiver is. Obviously, we got to see what the quarterback can do, but what we've seen from the two rookies has been very impressive to this point, and that has a chance, as they hope, to really carry this thing. And last year, we had Harold Fannin and Quinshon Judkins basically become the offense in many ways. Certainly, Jerry Jeudy matters. Certainly, he's an important part. But like even projecting forward, there's so many people who I disagree with who are basically like planning for life after Jerry Jeudy and looking at those Harold Fannin, Quinshon Judkins. These are tentpole players on this offense. And Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion have a chance to be that same thing. And all of a sudden, you go from zero of those guys after Amari Cooper in some respects to 4 in the course of 2 seasons. Like, that is real meaningful progress if it works out the way we hope.
Do you think, how many rookies on the offensive line, Pete, or do you think what's the realistic look there? The great thing is they amassed this horde, this army. Fano, yes, left tackle, but any other surprises that you think will happen on the offensive line?
I mean, I think they're going to slow play Parker Brailsford, and the reason isn't because they don't belief. It's not for a lack of belief in Parker Brailsford. I think they're really high on him. It's practical. He was an undersized 280-something pound center. And if you go down the Browns' schedule right out of the rip, every single team they play seems to have somebody who's about 330. And it's just real life at that point that you have a guy that has to be able to hold up. And I think as much as I think the Browns want to get in a world where they're so impressed with Parker Brailsford, they believe he can hold up at the point of attack and all these other things that allows Elton Jenkins to play right guard. That clearly is Monken's dream scenario. I think it's far more likely that Jenkins starts at center. They figure out something at right guard to be able to hold up at the point of attack because they don't want to get into a situation where Parker Brailsford, as a young first-year player, is getting just manhandled by this, and it just craters the offense in a way that he can't sort of deal with. And they don't want simultaneously. I don't think they want to put Parker Brailsford in a situation where they're immediately like going, he can't do it, and we're pulling him out. And it makes it putting him in a situation he wasn't ready for and setting him up to fail in some respect.
Another one of the big questions for the Browns is obviously the cornerback room. Not very deep. And then the sort of whispers about would they trade? If they trade Denzel, then we all know, right? I mean, that's it. They're laying down the table and they're saying, you're going to have to eat this, and this is what we're doing. If they don't do that, they just signed Damari Mathis, who at the time was quite impressive back, went to Pittsburgh, not the team, but the university, went to Denver, and out of his rookie year, got the starting gig. And then, 54 tackles, very fast, and then tore his ACL. Your thoughts? I think this is what they're going to try to do, right? Pull the bus up to camp and see if they get anybody who can come out in the secondary, they're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to take from teams, take from good teams. The Denver Broncos have been drafting and loading up on secondary year over year. They had a first-round pick who was largely on the bench last year at corner, who can play sort of everything. He didn't play all that much. That is how much they prioritize the secondary. So if you're going to take from teams, take from good teams, and the Broncos are very good. So you get a player who has largely lived out on the outside, has the explosiveness you want for man coverage. He has more. I think he might have the third most experience out of any corner on this team as an outside corner. And they were in a situation where they had a lot of unproven guys, undrafted rookies or guys. I think Dom Jones, who was waived with a physical designation, had like 50 career snaps. They just didn't have much experience. So I don't think they're looking to trade Denzel Ward, but I could see a scenario where if the Browns come out and they're just not good, and you're sitting there 2-6 at the deadline or whatever, and all of a sudden Denzel Ward, because I think part of this is Denzel Ward. I don't think Denzel Ward wants to leave, but I could see a scenario where Denzel Ward goes to the Browns and says, "Look, man, this isn't going anywhere. I would like to go somewhere else." And the other part of that is, I don't think the Browns have any interest in trading Denzel Ward for like a 4th-round pick. At some point, it's insulting. You are tarnishing him as somebody who wants to be here, as somebody who's can be a lifelong Brown, all those things, which does matter. And he's more valuable to you and what you want to do as a team than getting like a day 3 pick. So I don't think it's very likely. Everybody wants to send him to Detroit. I think Detroit wants to figure out if they're any good before they make that kind of splash. So I think Denzel's here for the time being, and I think both sides kind of prefer it that way. It's just a matter of making sure they don't get into a record situation where both sides are going, do we really want to keep doing this?
Right, Pete. I mean, 43 games for Mathis. This guy is talented, very fast. He's more of a zone guy, but the good thing about Monken, he runs a variety of schemes. So it's not like, he needs to be an outside cover guy, press guy that does this and that. He's more zone in that his reflexes sort of work that way. Not a great sort of man guy, but a talented guy. It's just crossing your fingers that his ACL holds up. But I think it is a good move for the Browns. Speaking of a good move for us, that would be bringing back the Playhouse. Sam has been out. We talk every once in a while. Sam's bringing back more tape about a guy we mentioned, Spencer Fano, and running it back, looking from left to right, right to left. Sam, it's all yours.
You see the X's and O's right here. They're trying to isolate the linebacker, but watch number 88 coming off the edge. He's going to cause problems in the backfield.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Playhouse. I'm Sam Penix. Today we're going to be circling back to Spencer Fano, and specifically we're going to be looking at his 2023 tape. And this is important because this is the year that he played left tackle, which is where he's going to be playing for the Browns. So it's good to get an idea of how he performed there, where he struggled, where he succeeded, and then to be able to see how he improved specifically on the right side over the course of his career, and some things to watch out for moving forward, especially in the preseason during his first NFL action. So what you'll notice watching his 2023 freshman tape is he struggled as a left tackle. He wasn't all that good, which is not unusual for a true freshman starting on the blind side. So he gets a lot of grace in that aspect, but he was not that impressive. It's kind of surprising given his pedigree and just how highly of a prospect he's been rated over the past 2 years. But he definitely had his struggles. Specifically, as you'll see in these first two clips here, he gave up the inside track a lot. Whether it was oversetting or just not being able to react quick enough to the defensive end changing direction, he was beaten inside very often, and that led to a lot of pressures and QB hits given up. So this is one thing that we're going to be really looking to see in the preseason especially, is has he been able to fix that? Because he was able to solve that problem when he moved over to the right side, but is that going to come back when he moves back to the left? Is something to watch out for. Another thing that he struggled with as a freshman was constantly giving up his chest to defenders. So as you'll see in this clip, the defender is able to get his long arm in there, in his chest, and then Spencer Fano just gets knocked off balance and then gives up a good amount of yardage to that rusher, closing in on the quarterback. So that was a consistent theme for his college tape as well from 2023, was just how often he was knocked off balance, kind of uprooted by that long arm into his chest. And what that did was really eliminated any anchor that he had. And at this point, he was skinnier, he was weaker. He's still not a very strong or powerful player, but this was 3 years ago. And any semblance of that anchor, that ballast that he has, was completely eliminated once he was thrown off balance, once the defender was able to get under his pads and stand him up straight or bend him over backwards even. That was a real struggle for him. So that's also something that improved from 23 to 2024 as he flipped sides. But again, something to watch for during his first NFL action back on the left side. He did show some significant progress over his freshman season, specifically towards the end of the year. He was able to do a lot of things much better. Here's an example of him just playing a little bit more in control. He eventually gets beaten on that overrun at the end of the play, but that's more the quarterback, evading pressure and stepping up than anything. Fano did a fine job handling that rush and sticking with the defender up the arc. And then one thing that was consistent over the course of the year was he was a solid run blocker. Nothing incredible, nothing even close to what he would become over his next 2 seasons, but definitely quality. As you'll see in this clip, he's able to get to the second level, wall off the defender, and open up that hole for the running back. Didn't really win with power a whole lot, which again makes sense given the archetype of player that he is, but he was really good at getting in front of defenders, walling them off, and creating open lanes for his runners. So that is, again, something else that we're going to be watching in the preseason. If you tune into the OBR, you'll see a lot of Spencer Fano content already up and coming over the next few weeks. We're going to be looking at the rest of his freshman year, his 2024 campaign to see how he improved, and then ultimately look at some in-depth film on his 2025 season to really get a full picture of the kind of player that the Browns got 9th overall and some things to keep an eye out moving forward for him. So subscribe if you're not subscribed to the OBR. There's a lot of great content coming up, and before you know it, we'll have some preseason film to break down. So got that to look forward to. Other than that, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for stopping by the Playhouse.
What's going on, everybody? It's Mike here from the OBR, and it's time for Mike's Draft Pours. You thought we were done with this. We took a little hiatus. I talked about every draft pick for the Browns coming up to this point, but we didn't talk about one, and that's who we're talking about tonight. So let's talk quarterbacks. You know the drill. I got my beer. You go get yours, and let's talk about the draft. And when I say quarterbacks, I mean the quarterback the Cleveland Browns drafted in the 6th round of this year's draft, and that's Taylor Green, the Arkansas quarterback, and this dude is a freak. He's big, he's tall, he's strong, he's fast. When you look at all the measurables that we might be talking about when it comes to quarterbacks that came out of this draft, this guy is elite. The elite measurables, and I think it was Todd Monken that said it best. When you get to a certain point in the draft, like the 6th round, you are drafting for traits. You're drafting for things you might be able to develop, and that has to be the conversation. I am very nervous about Taylor Green and his future with the Browns, and here's why. We're about to enter into training camp mode, and then we're going to go into preseason mode. And I think during that time, this guy's going to look unbelievable. He's going to look, again, big, tall, strong, fast, ready to go in this division, in the AFC North. And people are going to fall in love with him, but he's not playing real NFL football. And I think people need to take a step back and be ready for that, because Taylor Green, for every measurable that he has, there's a reason for a guy that's his height, his weight, his speed, his arm strength, everything. There's a reason that he fell to the 6th round of the draft. And it's because as a quarterback, there's questions. He turns the ball over. He takes forever to throw the ball. He takes forever to see where he wants to throw the ball. His windup to throw the ball it's like Paul Bird throwing a pitch for the Guardians or the Indians at the time. Taylor Green has to develop into a quarterback. He is an athlete now who can play quarterback, but he has to develop into an NFL quarterback. I love the idea for the Browns to take a guy with the traits and see if you can develop him, especially for a guy like Todd Monken, who has worked with a guy like Lamar Jackson. And again, Lamar was more polished coming out than Taylor Green is, but Taylor Green has the measurables. He has the traits that make you have a little hope that he can be a guy that develops, but you've got to give him time. I don't know if the Browns have it. I think they're going to try to get Taylor Green on the practice squad because I think they have to. If they can get him there, I have a little bit of faith that maybe they can develop him into a decent player, but this is not a guy that I would expect anything from up front. I think because of his size and his physical attributes, some Browns fans are already saying Taylor Green, he should be the backup or he should be the 3rd string guy. I don't think he's ready for that at all. You got to give him time. You got to let him get ready. But if you do it the right way, and if Todd Monken can do it the right way, and Andrew Berea and the coaching staff and all that can do it the right way, maybe the Browns found a diamond in the rough in Taylor Green. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Mike's Draft Pours. Enjoy the rest of this side up. We'll talk to you later. Until then, as always, cheers, everybody.
Shush.
Hey, Lane, how's it going, brother?
Barry, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing all right. I want to talk running backs today.
Running backs.
Yeah, I just saw Quinshot Judkins threw up a training video on YouTube yesterday, or maybe a couple of days ago. Looks like he's ready, man. What are we hearing?
Oh, he's ready. He was chomping at the bit ahead of schedule. He was really pushing the training staff to let him get on the field, and he just blew away every milestone. He's in unbelievable shape and condition. They say that his quick twitch movement is quicker than what it was when he was here a season ago. He's strong, powerful. He lost body fat. He lowered that percentage down, and he is just stronger and quicker than what he has been. It's going to be interesting to see what transpires with him, how quickly they've thrust him back into his starting role. Are they going to be a little careful with him as camp starts due to not having any contact?
Sampson's going to be number 2, but number 3 we've got a little bit of a training camp battle, but I was really impressed by Rocket Sanders last year.
They like his feet. His feet just keep moving. He's always falling forward. He's shown more burst and a little bit more quickness than what they anticipated when he came in, and he has worked diligently during the offseason to get into better physical condition. It's going to be interesting to see him and Amani Marshall, another guy that nobody thought a lot about except the Browns. They love his movement. They love his elusiveness. He's quicker than what he looks. The one thing that they worked on with him, is getting him squared to the line of scrimmage. At times he would come out and round off things, and he'd get himself in a little bit in no man's land. But he's a guy who's in here competing, and he has a shot, which is just an indication of how well this organization has done in finding these guys and securing that talent and coaching them up. And see what happens here in a couple days when everything starts kicking off.
That sounds good, bud. Something to look forward to. Can't wait. Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, bud. Take care.
Shush.
All right, lads. You think you know it all, but you don't know jack.
So, Deshaun Watson insurance, what do we know? What do we not know? There's a full article on this, so by all means, please go read the OBR to get the full breakdown, but we're just going to go through the highlights here. So, number 1, the amount insured is not what you get paid back. If you insure 44 million, the deal, he gets hurt, you don't get 44 million back. It's just not how it works. So, how much insurance have we got back? So he missed some time in 2023. The Browns got back over 1 million in insurance. He missed time in 2024. They got back 4.8 million. That's what we know so far. It gets a little bit messy with what happened with missing time in 2025. So part of the reason why is because it just looks a bit odd what they've reported. Normally what happens is if a player misses time, you don't get any money back in the current year. You get it back in the 5 years of salary cap following. What's happened with 2025 is we only see one number of just shy of 4 million in the 2026 year. So what we're kind of all waiting on clarity with, is it the terms of the insurance have changed? And insurance documents aren't public. It's not like you go into over the cap and it's all written there. So what we're kind of waiting to see is there another 4 payments of that amount, which my gut says that's probably where this is going? Or have they changed the terms and it's just the one payout? I think you're probably looking at 4, which would mean just under 20 million paid back from his 46 million he was due for the 2025 season. So a significant sum, even though it's not the full amount. That is a massive amount of money for the team that they can spend on other players. We're not worried about money going back into Jimmy's pockets. We're worried about salary cap space being able to spend on turning this roster around. So with insurance, nowhere near as transparent as it is with sort of everything salary cap wise, otherwise, and sort of standard deals. We'll get over time more and more information as we see sort of 10 years, 20 years of insurance, even if the league isn't public, the same way they are with comp picks in deals. You start to see patterns and things emerge. So it's still something we're learning more about all the time. But the key thing is the Browns are getting money back. So if it's 1 million plus 4.8 and then it's nearly 20 million, we're talking about roughly 26 million coming back to the team. So that's more money off that number of the horrendous deal that the Browns previously signed worth 230 million. So I hope that helps. But as always, if you want to know what happens with the salary cap, don't go to Pro Football Network because they told you 80 million. They did backtrack, and fair play for them doing it and not just trying to push it through. come to the OBR, the home of the Browns salary cap. As always, go Browns.
Back here on this side up, Mark Fissler here. I am here. Pete's here. We're back from a little vacation, summer vacation. I don't think we went anywhere. And frankly, we probably didn't have a lot of fun. I mean, that's just who we are. I mean, I was out there and got to hang with Pete and Barry.
No, apparently no fun. Apparently zero.
There was no fun involved whatsoever. It was in a room. We're talking business. Man, this is America, huh? Pete, ESPN ranking players, teams, roster strength for 25 and under. I scroll down, doing a death scroll, just to see where our team is. Stunned that the Patriots were number one. I guess, Drake May takes up the bounty of that. They have a very nice young cornerback who is not re-signing at the moment. The Browns were number four, and the list of players on that is impressive. As you go down the division, it was sort of more revealing. The Ravens were 11, just for Browns fans, if you want to feel good. Ravens are number 11, Bengals are 20, the Steelers are 28. There is a great young core here. I know we all want to get to the quarterback, but that young core is here for a while.
Obviously, a lot is riding on the second draft class where everything looks pretty good with last year's draft class. So if they get these two right and they justify that fourth ranking and you don't have the quarterback, you have to feel pretty good about the ecosystem you're setting up for a quarterback. I've said this over and over again. I understand everybody wants the savior, but you don't want to go to that prospective quarterback and say, please save us. You want to have a system that is set up for that guy to be successful. And you want guys to be excited about the prospect of being drafted by the Browns, not sitting there, oh my God, I have to fix the whole thing. And that's a real problem. And, especially in a world where we're talking about quarterbacks potentially staying in college to avoid certain teams. And there are going to be fans that go, well, of course, all these guys are going to want to avoid Cleveland. But if you have Harold Finn and Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston and Spencer Fano, and these guys can all play, you're going to have guys who go, yeah, I can win there. I can be successful there. I think this is a good setup and I can be the guy they need me to be. So yeah, that's an important step in the development. So I think that's you could certainly make an argument that's a lofty ranking, honestly, but it's the direction they need to be headed in.
Pete, speaking of directions, the direction you're going to be headed will be out to camp next week when the vets come in. Give me your read about, I think you and I will be doing our update from the camp, which is always a lot of fun, informative. I would suggest tuning into that. And, but what are you looking forward to going into with the vets there? And anything in particular? Maybe you've just already spilled that. Anything else?
No, beyond pads, I want to see what Todd Monken wants this team to become. He's a first-time head coach. Mike Rutenberg is a first-time NFL head coach. Mike Rutenberg, his first shot at defensive coordinator. How is this thing going to grow and evolve? Are we going to see Switzer sort of become a personality? Because at this point, it's largely it's Todd Monken's offense and all this. Or are we going to see him become sort of a bigger player in this? I want to see how this thing's going to evolve. Right now, because part of that is everything's new. Everything feels good. Everybody's loving this. What's it going to be like when it's tougher and it becomes the rigors and everything's not fun? And how are the Browns going to deal with that? Because their attitude to this point has been great. Hopefully it carries over to the joint practices and they come out of that well. So yeah, all that stuff is super important.
Thanks, Pete. I think that's going to do it for this week's edition of This Side Up. We're back in the saddle. We're riding off. Pete will be out at camp, and here we go. The season is just sort of right around the corner. A lot of decisions, a lot of talk, a lot of info, and we'll be all over it at the OBR. Both here at This Side Up and at the site. So thanks for joining us. We always appreciate that. We'll see you next week on This Side Up.